Right, so we've got our spawner in, we've got an enemy. My main thing now is let's make it a bit more interesting. So what we've got is we've got our base enemy prefab here. So if I spawn in, we've got an enemy there. Now I do Control Z, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and unpack this enemy. And the reason why I've done that is I'm going to show you how to set up multiple prefabs because we don't have to just have one. And on this enemy, all I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a runner. I'm going to change it to look kind of turquoise, I guess. I'm going to put its move speed to 4. Now, I'm going to recall, sorry, the runner didn't stay, so I'm going to recall the runner because I think I clicked off it. There we go. And then what I'll do is I'll just drag this in here and I'll make a prefab. I'll save it, delete the original prefab in the scene, and then on my spawner, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag runner and drop it in there, and we're going to see what happens. So all the runner's going to be, is it going to be a zombie that's slightly faster? It's going to move faster than the red one, okay? Now the main issue is we can't really tell the difference because we've not set up 2 spawners. So we're just going to, on our spawner, add another spawner. And this, so we're going to put enemy back in that top one, put runner into the second one, and the spawn rate for runner is going to be 4. We're going to do the same spawn distance, okay? And I'm going to put the spawn rate for a normal enemy to 2.5, just to up the difficulty a little bit. So we can see the difference when they spawn in now. So you see how the green one's way faster than the red one, okay? So we've got another enemy type. Now, we could just leave it as 2 different prefabs, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this prefab from the bottom, okay? Now, you will get a bit of an error because there'll be a missing game object in your spawner, but we're going to fix that. I want you to right-click your enemy and go create something called a prefab variant. When you do that, call it runner, and then what it will look like is the exact as your enemy. But for example, if I click on my enemy and change my enemies to actually be, I don't know, let's make them yellow, it will change my runner as well. So you're basically transferring that data from the top enemy to the other enemies. So I'm actually going to make this into, I'm going to just make it solid black color for now. And I'm going to call the original one, I'm going to rename it to enemy base. And I'm going to right click, create a prefab variant, and I'm going to call this a walker. So this is our original enemy type. I'm going to change that back to red on the walker. So we're still keeping everything, but you'll see a little blue line to anything you change. So on the sprite render, you can see this little blue line and the color has gone next to the color, okay? So that means we've changed some. Now, I'm going to move the speed down to 2.5 as well, and that will change it. And my runner, I'm going to change back to turquoise, with turquoise colours, and I'm going to put the move speed back to 4. Now, when I go to my spawners, I'm going to put walkers in my top one, runners in my next one, and if I press play, we once again have some more enemies spawning in, going like that. Cool. So we've got some enemies spawning in. There's a bit of a variety there, but I think we could do a little bit more. Game's still a bit easy, so we can mess with these figures. So I might do runners every 3 seconds and do a walk every 2 seconds. So if I do that, press play, and we got some things spawning in a bit faster. There seems to be enemies on the screen most of the time. That's awesome. If I want to take this enemy script that we've made previously and take it further, what I might want to do is I might want to set up a boss. So we open our enemy script. We're just going to make a couple of changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to add public float, and we're going to call it enemy health. And I'll make a little semicolon at the end. Now, instead of destroying when we get this, we're gonna just comment this out for now. We're just gonna do enemy health minus minus. And that is basically just saying enemy health -1. So when we shoot something, it should lose health. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you what's going to go wrong because we're going to have a problem straight away. So if I press play and if I wait for an enemy to spawn and I grab a reference of it to the walker, if I shoot these, they're just ragdolling away now. And they will never die. They will just constantly spin in the endless vacuum of Unity, okay? To fix this, we're just going to do a couple of changes on our enemy base. So if we go to rigid body on the original enemy base, we're going to put this mass to like 10,000, okay? Now, all the runners and the walkers would have changed if you changed it on the enemy base, okay? If I press play again, they now don't fly away, okay? They'll still turn when they hit another enemy, but that's fine, okay? We'll fix the looking at it later. But they won't fly away now, so we've done a good change there. The thing is, we need to set up now a way for them to get destroyed, okay? Because still, we need them to die at some point. In our update, all we're going to do is we're going to do if enemy health is going to be smaller or equal to 0, we want to destroy that game object. So we're going to destroy. Okay? Just change that because it looked a bit weird. It looks a bit far off, but maybe that's just my sense of distance. But we could delete that comment now because we've reused that bit of code. And now, if we go into the game and we go to our enemy base, we're going to set player health to 1 for now and press play. So, what we do, we've got our enemies dying again straight away, which is perfect. Awesome. If I wanted to up them to 2 and press play, they take 2 shots to die. Right, now to balance things out, I think these enemies are pretty safe to be the 1. So I think a runner could be 1, maybe 2 for the walker, but that's up to you. What I need to do is right-click enemy base, and I'm going to create a prefab variant, and I'm going to call it a tank actually, not a boss, because our tanks will spawn in constantly, and I'm going to make them purple because purpley pink, you know, that's what I need to do. I'm going to set the health to a 5, but to balance out, I'll put the move speed at a 1. Okay, so it's going to be real slow. I need to add a spawner, and that needs to drag our tank in. Put the spawn distance at 10, and it's going to take 5 seconds for these to spawn in, so there's not loads on the screen at once. And I'm going to press play. So these are still 1 hit. And then, oh look, here comes this big boy. Bang. Took him out, okay? Took a couple of hits. So we're starting to get a bit more of a variety of enemies in here, okay? The thing that I want to also change about my tank is I'm going to double click it. I'm going to go to it in scene. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale it up, but I'll use the scale function here. And I'll just put 1.5. And I'm going to do it by 1.5, okay? And that means if I go back into the game and I drag my runner in, for example, and I drag my tank in, my tank is larger. So it just shows visually this guy's going to take a bit more health, okay? When we actually put art in the game, it'll make more sense. But now we've got a couple of different variations of enemies spawning in. So that's the main focus of this session. Next session, we're going to do a bit of UI and keep and score.